Get started. So welcome everyone. This is the first of the Younergy Crypto community calls. YC Finance, for anyone who is entirely new to this, is the place where we fund more solar collectively to go greener. We will go today through the smart contracts, logic, and also provide actually a bit of overview how we got to this stage of version 1, the MVP, that is partially deployed, fully audited, and will be fully deployed in the coming days. And yes, and we will keep this tradition starting today, every Wednesday at 5 p.m. CET. We will have these community calls. It will be mostly always with a topic I'll share, right after the current one. I'll share a topic of the next one, and so on. So yes, and maybe we will take one community call for internal stuff, but I believe this will be those sessions where we get updates on current states, where we exchange with current partnerships, and so on. So next week, just briefly, will be all about the token models of version 1, now that we have the tokens deployed now and very soon fully. What type of model are we realizing? We have done simulations and finalizing them. This will be shared next week. So if you are interested in the token model of YC.finance, next week is definitely also of importance. Today, it will be all about the smart contracts. So what type of process and business logic could we extract and put into smart contracts and deploy them on Gnosis chain? How was the audit process? And also, of course, the organizations that helped us get to this stage. MagicPowered for design and development, and also Verilog solutions for the smart contracts audit. I'm just putting this up here to collect everyone that we have an overview. I'll take the first part as the overview and will guide us through, and I would ask everyone to do a short intro when I pass it to the next point on the agenda. Younergy Crypto is an alternative finance solution for Younergy, and Younergy is a scale-up coming from Switzerland, founded in 2015, and now scaling across Europe. They're in Spain, Portugal, and coming to Germany. And I am Shadna Ruzichka. My background is computer science. I was in decentralized energy and smart grids since 2008, and Younergy CEO founder Pedro and I crossed paths in October 2021, and ever since we have been developing Younergy Crypto conceptually. And yes, and all of last year was about community discovery, getting the insights, making the connections. I will go through these, through this information in the first part. Then the second part will be about the smart contracts repository. We just look into it briefly, and Roman will maybe give us some highlights, or I will ask, point out the highlights. That part is developed in collaboration with the stakeholders, us, but developed and designed with MagicPowered. Today we have Max, founder of MagicPowered, and I would say did the magic behind. We've been collaborating since 2019 on, I would say, precursors to Younergy Crypto. Max, do you want to share a bit about you and MagicPowered briefly?
Of course. Thanks for having me. Well, long story short, got into crypto a long time ago. Always admired this bridging the real assets, real revenue generation within the energy domain using crypto technology. And I believe it was 2018 when we got in touch with Shebnem and started to explore those things. There was like multiple projects that we worked together on. MagicPowered as a community went a long way for the last 2 years, like more than 60 projects delivered across a variety of chains, protocols, solutions. Yeah, but the energy domain is like a point of magnitude that always drags us in eventually. So I'm excited to see how this MVP can actually flourish towards an actual big, sophisticated product.
Thanks a lot. I don't see Roman, but yeah, here it's Roman. Maybe also just brief to your background or your role. Since August, we worked very closely together, and you basically have the lead, technical lead. Would you like to share?
Hello. Sure. I'm working in MagicPowered community. I'm a technical lead. Since August, I'm working with Younergy. The main thing we do is creating a Web3 platform and also integrating with Web2 solutions. So I'm how to say, trying to coordinate all these processes, smart contract development, backend part, and front end.
Yes. So today is just a tip of the iceberg of what we are sharing. What was the entire development efforts? We will definitely have another session. At least 2 other sessions. One would be the integration of all the endpoints that we did. I will go briefly when we talk about the architecture, I'll show. But we will not go into that today. And the third part would be also, now we've been through all this MVP testing, A/B testing, different users and their incentives, behaviors, etc. All these insights. We definitely want to have a retrospective on what is working and what needs improvement with the front end moving forward as well. So we'll see MagicPowered and Roman definitely at least 2 more times. The third part will be the smart contracts audit process and highlights. Daniel from Verilog Solutions is with us today. Daniel, would you like to give a short intro to yourself, background, what you did in the process, and also if you want to give a brief intro into the process? I mean, for our stakeholders coming from solar, even refi, mostly from the domains that are not deeply Web3 technical. It's, I think, quite interesting to learn about the smart contract audits process as well.
Yeah, no problem. So hi everyone, my name is Daniel. So I'm one of the co-founder and audit lead at Verilog Solutions. So Verilog Solutions is founded by a group of cryptographic researchers and smart contract engineers in North America. And our team evaluates security standards for Web3 economics by like performing a smart contract security analysis, a consensus security analysis, and we also will analysis operational security for the Web3 projects. So our team work closely with like a major ecosystem and Web3 projects, including like Northeast Chain that currently Younergy is deployed on, and we apply a bunch of different kinds of approach to evaluate and providing service to improve the security of the project. So to be more specific, for the Younergy project, I think we performed several analysis, including code assessment. Basically, we will evaluate the overall quality of the code and the comments, as well as the architecture of the repository. We also did code logic analysis, dive into the data structure and algorithm in the repository, and perform analysis and suggestion improvement on the code architecture. We also perform the business logic analysis to see is there any potential mistakes in the implementation. We also analysis the access control since Younergy protocols. We have a lot of admin rules related in the smart contracts. So we definitely suggest using the Gnosis to operate the project. And we also perform the off-chain component analysis, including how everything works, what is management process, and we also perform the automated testing, go through the current test and the test, and we also are building our own properties by using the fuzzy testings. It's all being included in the report. So the summary of the project is Younergy Crypto is a protocol scales solar as a service with decentralized finance primitives embedded in the decentralized energy system. So there are three major smart contracts. One is a Younergy token. This contract mainly has the following functionalities. First is ERC20 functionalities besides minting and snapshot functionalities.
Daniel,
Second is
that's perfect. I will pause you there. Let me give the context, okay? The bigger one, and then on the third one, we'll go through all of this in the report.
Cool.
Perfect, thank you. No, super cool. I must say the process was super smooth. Again, the estimation how long it would take and so on. Yeah, I felt you definitely have the experience, and we went through this smoothly. And one interesting point, maybe also, it was our first test that we can actually pay protocol development improvements from the revenues of solar carbon credit offset. So the whole payment went through basically the revenues from the YCO2 token itself on Gnosis chain. All of that was super smooth. Good. I want to give a bit of a background, maybe mention a few design decisions before, and then also when we go through the report, that was also super interesting. You really picked up on quite a few things. Also, Roman mentioned that was interesting from the technical side. I was also impressed from the business logic side. So we will go into those in more detail in the third part. But let me give an overview so that people who might be entirely new and want to use the YC finance front end to the protocol, that they really get a good insight into the context, what they get, and where it is deployed, what is it that is deployed, and how we implemented it. Roman, you will go into that. And then at the end, we go through the report in detail, as you almost started, Daniel. Good. So what we are bringing on chain are solar assets, and solar assets, not the solar panels, not fractions of a solar panel or what have you, but only digitally transactable values. I think that's a good demarcation of what it is that can be tokenized. Younergy, as I mentioned, is operational since 2015. They already have more than 1,500 projects in Switzerland alone, and have been scaling in Spain, Portugal, now coming to Germany. Now, and they are providing power purchase agreements. These are 10 to 15-year agreements with commercial, and now focusing on commercial and industrial buildings. So those buildings who do business and produce goods and services that at the end we are also at the end consuming. Those are the people who get the electricity, pay the electricity, and Younergy will share 50% of the revenue share during this time of the PPA back with the YC community. So YC community funds new solar through Younergy Crypto token and gets a revenue share from the solar asset managers. We're starting with Younergy, of course, and it will likely remain that way until we have gone through the full process, full cycle, maybe even deployed version 2 of the smart contracts, which will have, better governance or, more fine-grained governance and smart pools aspects. So I'm not getting ahead of myself, just saying what we are tokenizing is solar revenues and the carbon credit value of the solar power produced, because every kilowatt hour that is produced displaces gray or dirty electricity from being consumed, meaning it avoids that many grams or kilograms of CO2 from being emitted through electricity consumption. Now, before we get into the contracts and the overview, the second aspect is why we deployed on Gnosis chain. Many people don't really question or realize, but the chain that you choose is, first of all, the ecosystem, number one. Of course, multi-chain is an option, but where we start was super important, especially because the solar revenues are steady over a long time, but they're smaller compared to what kind of transactions are now normally going on Ethereum. So for us, it was really important that the transactions costs are low, but on Gnosis chain, they are not just low, they're also fixed, because Gnosis chain uses XDAI, which is a bridged stable token DAI from Ethereum. So we have fixed and low cost transactions. The other very important progress in the XDAI and Gnosis domain was actually the merger into Gnosis chain, which gave us more than 100,000 validators now. That makes Gnosis chain the second most decentralized right after Ethereum. So that's important. And the third or fourth aspect was the developer experience. I mean, Roman may share to that, but the developer experience is the same as on Ethereum, or very, very similar. The DeFi protocols, which we will need for the YC token, like for having liquidity behind the token, but also, as I mentioned later on, the exchanges is super important. And newly also we have EuroE on Gnosis chain. That's a Euro e-money on chain through Monerium. Again, these are things we should go in another session, but that makes the connection to revenue share from solar with the real world really painless. And again, just this week, the announcements were amazing. After Porto, we have Balancer on Gnosis chain, which enables us to actually use smart pools without having to develop such intricate logic for exchanging or creating pools of YC tokens with different solar projects in them. That will be version 2, and then also, again, having all the DeFi Legos also on chain, on Gnosis chain. That makes life much, much easier. So we're not reinventing anything, but using existing infrastructure and existing primitives that have proven themselves over, the bull and the bear markets that are now coming to Gnosis Chain. We will be able to use them. That's super important. Not today's topic, but just to give you an answer, because that question is coming a lot, why we deploy on Gnosis Chain. Just quickly, again, time-wise, we're doing super fine. I want to give now an architectural overview, and just for the fun of it, I will just scroll through all the design and discussions that we had in the beginning. This could have been a lending protocol. This could have been a CDP, not CDO. So these were all discussions that we have done with Younergy, the solar as a service startup that sees Younergy Crypto as an alternative finance, but also with other stakeholders that would be participating. How do they see this value on chain? So we had these exchanges last year, many iterations, many different possible decisions that we tested. Exactly, that we tested and went through, and at the end, basically, we have brought it down to this. And the logic is we have the YC token, that is the participation reference token, where funds go through. One second. Where the funds go through, we can create pools of emissions. So for example, the first pool of YC token emission, the beta pool in Portugal, will be for 2 million of solar projects. So that will be the first emission. But then, as mentioned, in Portugal, Spain, Germany, and the plan is scaling with Younergy operations, and also when we have proven that that works, actually opening up the solution to other solar asset managers that can provide the same amount of quality data or have equal interface integrations with this protocol. So there we have this logic of emissions, YC token emissions, that always represent the initial cost of putting that many solar rooftops, and that pool can grow. It's an ERC20 token, nothing more. Nothing more complicated there. We have the revenue distribution contract again that only looks at the YC token balances and looks at when was the last revenue withdrawn from the YC token holders, and keeps track of the revenue share according to YC token balances. So YC token holders can always claim the incoming revenue from the solar assets in version 1. But surely we will have, moving forward, proven logics like staking, bonding with those revenues, and with the token emission logic. Again, this is version 1, the MVP. It will help us test and go through the whole cycle. And once that is proven, we will have data and foremost initial community who have been already participating in this first emission and know how we can improve for scaling further into version 2. The YCO2 non-fungible token, the NFT, that's the value capture or representation of the carbon value of carbon emissions avoided because of the solar produced. Again, there we have, as Daniel mentioned, still a lot of control because that's what's called the digital carbon. I'll just briefly share that's, I would say, definitely Web 2 part of it, how carbon emissions avoidance is calculated. It's called digital carbon module. It's also becoming a standard in the industry, in the crypto carbon ecosystem as well. And that's how we keep track of how much of the carbon value of newly funded solar project YC tokens can claim for free. In the initial MVP, also through all the exchanges with the stakeholders, with people who are interested in the carbon value of solar, we learned that actually people are really interested in offsetting, using this for offset. So we also use this smart contract for tokenizing the carbon value of existing projects. And that's what you can buy, and that's what we have on limited edition sale today. So these are the contracts. There, Roman, maybe you can briefly go into as well. We have implemented it as a non-transferable token using some function and some logic, so that people are minting these credits and they get offset directly in their wallets. And using this logic, we're basically creating the token model or the incentive mechanisms for coordinating the people around. This is just an overview I can add to the slides later on for people to dig deeper. But here is the entire overview. Yes, the entire overview. The first part is the solar asset management software as a service from Younergy, where the data from the solar installations come in, and also solar partners can dock on to use the offering of getting power purchase agreements with commercial and industrial customers. These are the other agents there that are not entirely active now, but can be in the future. That is where we get the solar production data from. And MagicPowered have developed this digital carbon product, which is the YC lightweight backend, where the solar production data is integrated with the carbon intensity data coming from third-party data providers. And this is where the carbon emissions avoidance is calculated. We also have community validation, open source data validation, cleaning and reporting, and we use Block Science Lab solution there. We will have an entirely separate session on that. So, and finally, once that is calculated, finally the Younergy Crypto community gets to interact with what is on chain. That is the tokenization of the carbon value, the carbon credits people can offset from existing projects, or people can claim according to their YC token from newly funded projects for free. The offset revenues go to the governance multisig. People can also directly buy into YC token contracts. So participating in the community to fund more solar. Again, the YC token proceeds go to the safe multisig, and that is where the funds are withdrawn to fund more solar rooftops. So here we have safe, and finally now can also use Monerium, which gives us our account an IBAN. So actually we're not really leaving thanks to Monerium blockchain or chain at all. So the off-ramp is entirely done in a transparent way by Monerium. So the YC token can be either rewarded for offsetting. That's the mechanism that we learned about that is interesting for people to participate, but also it can be bought directly for people who want to participate in funding more solar and get the revenue shares and the carbon value at a higher volume and level. Good. That's briefly it. Again, I guess we can go much deeper, but already see that it would be good when we just give an overview of the smart contracts repository. Roman, if you want to share your screen.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, it might take a while. I need to quit and reopen Zoom.
Okay, or I'll share it for you.
Just wait 1 minute,
Okay.
because
Okay,
thanks.
all good. So quit here. That was also interesting. Daniel, how we got the recommendation for Verilog. It was actually Paula.
Oh, that's cool.
And she was maybe she tells a little bit.
Yeah, true. I almost forgot already. So many connections recently. It must be a Dosh, yeah, right. Knows this chain. And because they also work with you, right? Wasn't that the story behind it? I think so.
I think so. Definitely the recommendation came from that ecosystem. So
Yeah, turned out.
Roman joined. Let's see if maybe I need to enable multiple sharing.
Oh.
Now we can see
You
your
can see
screen.
my screen. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Let me do something with this interface. I'm not familiar with. I'm sorry. Is there ability to hide it? Okay, never mind. Well, let me give an overview, basic technical overview before diving deep into contracts, because it's important to understand what's happening here. So the project is on MVP stage now, and we have 3 smart contracts, and only one is deployed. It's NFT contract. So the project contains of several parts. The front end basically built on React.js, and it communicates directly to the blockchain. If you click by CO2, you can see this data of how much CO2 available directly from smart contract. And if you go to your library, the NFTs that you already purchased, it's also directly from the smart contract. So the main part of the application basically is front end and smart contracts, but also we have a backend part which makes all calculations of CO2. It gathers all the information of electricity generated among all solar roofs, and data of carbon intensity in
UK.
UK, yes, sorry, and calculates for each time frame, depending on what accuracy you choose while you buying this NFT. So if you choose less granular data, that means you buy NFTs, you buy CO2 before 2017, and if you choose more granular, you buying more newer data, right?
Yeah, so that was with UK, just briefly, the data on carbon intensity of the power grid in UK. We have that in 30-minute high resolution from the grid operator. That's public data available, but it's only available since 2017. So from that time on, we can, or you can mint high granular carbon, solar carbon credits. But before that date, we use what's typically used, namely the yearly carbon intensity of the UK power grid. So it's more of a yearly average. So yeah, and later on, we will have, through electricity maps, the 60-minute granularity. So that's the level that we want to go for. But the A/B test was really about, okay, do people care about it? It wasn't so clear last year, but after all the scandals with the methodologies and existing credits, registries, and so on, it now becomes possible, or it now becomes visible that people, if they want to buy carbon credits on chain, they want to buy data-driven, digital carbon. Good.
Yeah. Well, and the another part of the application is image generation. So it's a tiny microservice which generates image of a tree by data like how many kilograms were offset in particular NFT. So let's dive deep into the contracts, and we start with Younergy NFT, which is the only contract on production, right? So here's, you can see several variables that we use, like price of 1 kilogram, how many carbon offset is available, and how many carbon offset is already minted, and some data type, which mean what type of NFT we mint. So it's less granular, more granular, and minted by credit shares. It is not implemented yet, but we included it to the smart contract. So basically, it's an ability to buy NFT by some credits. Okay, so here you can see some methods to update data. So speaking of roles, we have API role and admin role. API role is our backend, which can control some data in some parameters in a smart contract, and admin role is asset manager, who can also control prices and stuff like that. So for example, asset manager can set a price for carbon offset, and the API role can set carbon offset, like whole amount of carbon offset. Basically, this contract is ERC 721. The interesting part here is that it's not non-transferable. So we rewrite before token transfer hook and make it not possible to send tokens between users
to another address than the mint. So, and that is again, in the beginning, mint to offset, that definitely something people valued, but currently we could also use carbon pools. However, their 1 carbon ton is priced at around 130 USD, and that is something we don't need to do. It just doesn't pay off to sell these carbon credits. So if that was the case and people would have not valued the incentives around offsetting and then getting rewarded with more solar and participation in solar, we would have just not gotten into it. But this offset game, you offset and we build, you offset and we sponsor, we put more solar, that seems to at least resonate. So, and the bigger partners like DAOs who are interested, they only want to offset their on-chain carbon credits and carbon emissions or footprint, and they're not interested in trading part at all. So that's why right now it's just to offset, and you see it's constrained. The community and seeing what the developments will bring, the community could decide to have it also mint to trade, maybe among YC token holders, so that, for example, a DAO or a chain can buy more credits from individual holders. So these are things that, again, we will see through increased usage, what are the interests of the users and the stakeholders. But today it's meant to offset. And withdrawal balance, we called that a couple of times, but there's nothing special there, I guess. It's just, yeah, the revenues that we can withdraw into safe, ultimately, that we want to go for. And then the community decides how to make use of those funds, how much goes into R&D and development, maintenance, and how much of the revenues goes into funding more solar. Cool. Shall we look into the other 2 contracts?
I just wanted to mention last things about minting. So there is 3 types of mint. You can see all of these use private method of set mint inside, but difference is role of user what can use this methods. So the first one is for admin role. It doesn't need to be payable, so the admin can do can mint NFTs without payment. Payable mint for users, and credit mint, which is not like working yet because we don't have credits implemented on the front end part. Since at the moment you click buy YCO2, here you basically hitting this method, payable mint, and since it finalized, you have already your NFT, but you would not see it in your profile until our backend count every time frame for your amount of kilograms and creates image. So at this moment, we in offset mint, let me explain, we emit event of minting, so our backend can listen it, and then it uses method. Sorry. Where is it? Yeah, set token URI. So backend allocates CO2 for a particular NFT and make a JSON file, store it in IPFS, and links it to the NFT on blockchain. It looks like this. So here's image and some details of your NFT. That's probably it for.
Maybe just a comment or explanation about admin role being able to mint for free. Number one, it was the initial idea was, okay, when we go to events and we want to show people that we can mint it as promotion on through wallets on events. But then it turned out, because we have these, like how do you price a carbon ton is very, very different, that we can actually use that method to, if individual wants to buy bigger amount, if an organization wants to offset bigger amounts, that they can actually, exchange on a price with us that would be determined in the initial set about, what costs do we want to cover at the minimum, and are we going to reach the next milestone with these bigger offsets. That would be the decision making on our side to set the price for bigger offsets for DAOs and chains and so on. So that's is coming in handy now. Okay. Then the YC token.
YC token is basically ERC20, and it's pretty standard. The only difference here is pre-sale. So before minting YC tokens, we creating pre-sale, which contains amount of tokens we want to mint, Merkle root of users who wallets who can buy these tokens during this pre-sale, and the rate, so the price of one token. And this contract is depending on revenue distributor contract, and the connection is reflected on this diagram. So I'll proceed with diagram to explain what happened here. So we have two person, basically asset manager and user, who wants to buy YC token, and some layers. This can you see my pointer? Sorry.
Yes, we can.
Yep. Okay. So this is YC. YC contract and the distributor contract. This part is XDAI, so it's just Gnosis chain stablecoin, and the off-chain part means our API, our backend part. So we starting pre-sale by updating whitelist of users and creating a Merkle tree of it on the our backend part, and upload it to the blockchain, to the YC contract. User can buy XDAIs and then check if he's on the whitelist. So is he able to buy YC tokens or not? And then a user can deposit stable coins in YC contract. Then what happened then? We verify if this user able to do this and calculate exchange rate and then transfer it to transfer YC token to the user, right? Then when asset manager have some revenue, asset manager can send it to a revenue contract, which have a distribute method. This method calculates the ratio of each user, how many YC token user holds, and how and what's his ratio of all pool of revenue distribution. And then basically after all these calculations, user can hit this withdraw revenue method and take his part of distribution
of the revenue share.
Yeah.
Cool.
I can show this contract of distributor. It's not really big. So the main thing here is distribute method and withdraw method. Distribute, it's the thing when asset manager sends asset, so that's why it's payable. And withdraw when user withdraws your his XDAI, his part.
Yeah. So the goal was to keep everything super simple in this version 1 to mainly, I mean, there were, as you are pointing to, so many integrations to be done. And then also, again, while we're getting the insights from the potential users to continue development of the MVP and so on and so forth. So the focus was, okay, in this V1, what is the minimal transparent transactions that we can show? And we do this, as Daniel also says, we are very well aware of that, you know, with the admin role and the API role, that, and I mean, putting solar on rooftops is a handshake and a very manual stuff. So the number one, or version 1 focus is to get the logic as much as simplified as possible, to get every transaction that we can on chain, and then from getting usage, get the feedback and get the community that is value around putting more solar to actually go greener and not just trading carbon credits. So that is the focus on version 1. I always underestimate the time. Apologies for that. Daniel, I hope you have, you know, 15 more minutes that we can take off your day. And it would be great if you could go into the smart contracts audit that Verilog did. If you could share that.
Yeah, no problem. Give me 1 second.
Thank you.
Let me share the screen.
And also, since I think it's also good that we are, you know, repeating and getting into more detail each time. Yes, but also we can skim over things where it's maybe too technical, because those who want to get into those technical details, they will find them anyways. But definitely let's go into the main issues that you have found. Weren't many, but also things that concern the business logic. So we have a time opportunity to explain what was acknowledged and what was corrected and so on. Thank you. Thank you, Roman.
First of all, thank you everyone's previous explanation. I think the structure and the what the product is doing is pretty clear. I will just quickly jump to the methodology. First of all, we perform this kind of analysis on the protocol, and here's a summary of the protocol. Essentially, there are three major components. One is a token, ERC20 token, and one is an NFT contract, and one is a revenue distributor. So each of them has their own purpose. Users can allow admin rules to set exchange rate between XDAI and a YC token. Well, so users can use XDAI to swap the YC token. And the Younergy NFT is essentially a 721 standard NFT. There are admin rules to set the price of carbon credit, mint carbon credit, and withdraw the balance to an input address. And there's a revenue distributor. Distributor rewards in XDAI according to the supply at the current snapshot. So essentially, it will take the snapshot of the Younergy token, and then revenue distributor will distribute the revenue to the Younergy holders. So here are the findings and improvement suggestions that we made. We currently found no high-level issues and no medium issues. That means, let me go to explain the issues level first. So this is the standard that we're currently using. High-level issues means issues have issues that are highly exploitable security vulnerabilities. It may cause direct loss of fund, like permanent freezing of the fund. Like all the high sensitivity, high severity issues should be resolved. And there are medium level issues. Medium level issues are targeting like under certain conditions, there are some like privileged access to the systems, like users, yield, rewards information are at risk. So, and there are low issues, like low level issues, issues that are low level, not fixing those issues will not result in the failure of system. Fix on low severity issues is recommended, but subject to client's decisions. And there are informational issues, issues that are posed to no risk to the system, and are related to the security best practice. Essentially, informational is just our suggestion of how to improve it to make it like perfect. So high-level issue and medium issues, we strongly recommend clients to resolve. And the low-level informational issues, low-level and the informational level issues, we suggest it's actually based on clients' decisions. And by far, we didn't find any high-level and the medium-level issues. Since this protocol is well-defined, although it has a lot of like off-chain component, that means like the operational team have to operate everything carefully. So that's why we also suggest you guys can set up some monitoring service to monitor what's going on chain. And for the low-level issues, three of them are relatively low issue. One is a lack of event emission for critical options. That is for whenever there's a critical function being triggered. For example, when I started the pre-sale, then it's better to broadcast the message on the blockchain network. So that's it. That is event emissions. Just making the front end easier to know, okay, there's this thing being triggered. And there are some lack of zero address check. For example, setting some parameters, it's better to check whether this address being like it's not a zero address or something. And there's unreachable code. This is a relatively low issues because one of the for example, in these conditions, it will continue. However, this condition will never be triggered. So this part of component, this part of code can be deleted. And the informational level issues are some setting up issues. Like for example, floating Solidity pragma is like the version of Solidity smart contract. So this is like pretty similar for the send function used to transferring XI. This is all like recommendation. Spelling mistakes in error message. The rest of the issues are really small level issues. I won't go through every one of them, but if you are interested about it, I can take a look of our smart contract. Right now, and also we also performed automated testing on the smart contract. We use a platform called Ikina. It's a fuzzy testing platform. Basically, what it means is we will define in what condition, basically, for example, when we're testing the transfer function, we want to know, okay, whether the users receive certain amount and the senders actually also deduce certain amount. And Ikina will find out, they will randomly input like thousands, like 10,000 of different input, and find out at what time they can break these rules. So it's a technology, it's a technique called automated testing. Also, it's also called like fuzzy testing in the software testing like field. Yeah, it's a highly effective tools. Like we inputted a lot of like different kinds of like input to fuzzy test, like to want to like basically just give a bunch of input to see when the system will break. Yeah, and this is okay, and then this is like a quick overview of what we have done and the security report as well. So the disclaimer is like where we received the compensation from one or more clients performing the smart contract and auditing analysis in contents in this in this report. In addition, we cannot make sure like we did our best, but we cannot 100% guarantee it won't have any failure because like even right now, Solidity smart contract language is still under the development. So our goal is to help to reduce attack vectors at a high level of variance associated with utilizing the new and consistently changing the technologies. Thus, Verilog solution is a new way to claim any guarantee of security or functionality of technology. We agree to analysis, but our team tried our best to perform, and we do have a lot of experience in this area as well.
Super cool. So again, it was for me first where I was fully involved in the whole process as well, and yeah, I really liked it. It was super straightforward, and what I also like is like you're using full range of available testing methods that are standard, automated testing and so on, to see how to break things on large scale. But then also that I think you or Dax mentioned that the team is also looking into like different people testing different parts, so that we really have many eyes on the code as well.
Yes.
Daniel, I have one ask. So there's one information or one interesting point you raised, that the NFT does not record any information such as carbon offset amounts. So maybe just to acknowledge that, definitely. Again, in the version 1, we said it's super simple. As you see, it's still quite a connected system. And what we're going for is the minimal requirement that the metadata that certifies the CO2 emissions avoided, like the data that we use for solar power production and the CO2 carbon intensity data and the emissions that is avoided calculated, where, time, and so on. So all that metadata is put into the, is stored on IPFS. And we have this link between the stored metadata on IPFS and the token itself. So that's for the minimal requirement for carbon credit to be on chain. However, for version 2, I mean, there is a long list of requests or people actually wanting to have a gamified version of these carbon credits and so on. So definitely moving forward, there is, we will also adapt the logic of the carbon credits for creating more incentives to go greener, fund more solar, etc. But for just for the trading part, if that was the functionality that will be required at most, the current version would even satisfy the crypto carbon and carbon industry standards. Just information from the domain side. And the other one point you raised that also concerns the logic, I would say, that the start sale function of the YC token can be called multiple times. Just briefly to that, acknowledged, and that is intended, again, at least in version 1. This is where we want to have the ability to make a small emission just for Portugal. We call it the beta pool for funding 2 million worth of solar rooftops in Portugal. And with that, we will be able to make an entire run through the whole logic, and also get all people involved who are early adopters and who are willing to value the carbon credit accordingly, who get into the incentive mechanisms of funding more solar, or even funding solar directly through the YC token. So that will be our core community that starts with this MVP. And then likely we will continue with the emissions of version 1, like how many projects can we fund in the next year in Portugal, Spain, Germany, maybe even likely continue in Switzerland. So it will be a bigger pool. Token emission still with version 1. However, in parallel, we want to go into development of version 2, where we make use of DeFi primitives like balancers, smart pools. And there, I believe, version 2 logic, it will still be a simple ERC20 contract, but without, or with a very different, or without the logic of the emissions itself, but it will be priced through smart pools logic on balancing. Again, this is version 2, forget what I just said. Right now, or today, it's really important what everyone shared from their work. Again, thank you so much. It was super interesting, and the final audits were super smooth. So I definitely need to thank Roman, the tech lead, who managed to pull the threads together, and also Daniel, your team at Verilog, as said again, who had a very smooth process for auditing. Thank you, everyone. If you have more time, again, I would actually give you the floor to tell a bit more about your organizations. Max, if you wanted to tell more about MagicPowered. Daniel, if you wanted to tell more about Verilog, this would be the time to do so, if you have a couple more minutes.
Thanks, Shebnem. It's fine. I don't really have too much of a pitch for MagicPowered. Okay. Our business primarily goes for word of mouth. Yeah. So, and since the variety of services provided are too broad, sometimes it's hard to find and convince people that the nature of the community, the way we work, that there's like a lot of decentralized distributed teams. It's very surprising to me because most of the space pushing towards decentralization, exactly. But this is the only concept they're struggling to understand. So yeah, we'll be building further. I think the Younergy Crypto gave us a very good and solid understanding on how to make such projects a reality. I hope more people will be going towards from a refi to tokenization models, launching stuff on chain in a trustless fashion, non-custodial things are always in my research stuff. I hate to depend on someone like a Fed or banks or whatever. So yeah, the future is green for sure. And thanks for having me.
Thank you, Max. So definitely, I also want to underscore that MagicPowered being a collective is actually making the right signal, and also able to execute in remote teams with so many moving parts. That was, again, certainly not the simplest, but we definitely got here quite efficiently, I would say. So thanks a lot for that. And Daniel, if you wanted to also give a parting thought, anything you want to share with respect to Verilog, most welcome.
I think I'm all good.
Thank you so much, everyone. I wish you a pleasant rest of the day, and definitely will cross paths at the latest with version 2, I would say. Thanks so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.